All right, cool. Well, let's dive into it. Just as a reminder, and just so you all see, for those that haven't yet, if you're on the screen share, which it looks like several of you are, you'll see the new STEMI logo and STEMI Coalition logo and the National Invention Convention and Entrepreneurship Exposition logo. That is a mouthful. Someone else just joined the call. Who joined us?
Yes, this is Tracy.
I'm sorry, could you say that again?
Tracy.
Hey, Tracy.
Hi,
welcome.
Tracy.
This is Bill.
Hi, Bill.
Hi, and someone else just joined. Who joined the call?
Hey, it's Roxanne in Georgia.
Welcome, Roxanne. How are you? This is Bill.
Good. It's cold and snowy.
Welcome to winter. And let's
I
not
know,
go
right?
down that road again because Danny's in California and we don't want to hear any more about it. Okay, so somebody else just joined and then we'll move on. Who just joined the call? Somebody joined the call. Has anyone not said hello? Okay, we're moving on then. Okay, so let's get started because we value your time. So just so we frame what we're doing here, the mission of the National Invention Convention is to provide students with opportunities to develop creative problem-solving and problem identification techniques through inventing, innovating, and entrepreneurial activities, leading to greater consideration of STEM careers in high school and college. So we do have a pretty robust agenda today. I think most of these things will go pretty quick, but there is a fair amount of new information to pass on. So we're going to talk about new members, fundraising, events, judging, marketing. We'll have some time for open topics, so if there's anything that you want to talk about, make sure that you bring it up then. And then we'll kind of look forward a little bit. So, okay, so Danny, I'm going to pass it on to you. You have some folks to welcome.
Yes, although I don't know if they joined. Did Brenda or Ann from California join?
We haven't heard from them. Brenda or Ann, are you on?
So, Bill, I sent you their email over the weekend. I don't know if you had a chance to get to them yet. But
I haven't gotten an email.
You didn't get an email from me? Well, that's why.
No, I've gotten a lot of emails from you, but not about them.
Well, everyone, my email went through an email server cut over this weekend, and it was pretty ugly. And I got 1,000 emails in my inbox about 10 o'clock this morning that were sent over the past 5 days. So if you haven't heard from me, then there's a reason why. That's probably have something to do with that as well, Bill. I will get you Ann and Brenda's email address. But so I've been out here in California helping put together the California Invention Convention group. I met with the mayor's office today in San Jose, and I've been meeting with some billionaires out here, people with lots of money and some major corporations. But most especially, I met with Brenda Payne, who's a former superintendent of the Santa Cruz School District, and with her partner, Ann Colley, who is a former fundraiser for the United Way. And they ran the Santa Cruz Invention Convention this year, and we'll be sending people to the Washington, D.C. Event. And also, though, are helping us put together the San Jose Invention Convention. And in any case, I wanted to welcome them, but I guess we'll have to do it again next call. But it's really awesome to the reception we've gotten here. Just about everybody's been like, well, let me convene more people. So I met probably with 6 or 7 people here, but I've got like 30 meetings now all set up coming out of that. So it's with people like the Silicon Valley Bank, Silicon Valley Community Fund, Silicon Valley Education Fund, Cisco, and some other players. So all with the intent of raising money. So I'm a money-grubbing person these days. So in any event, that's that. Bill, I'm still trying to log in on my I actually pulled over. You'll be very proud of me. I pulled over to McDonald's parking lot here to do this phone call, but I'm still trying to join my pitch. Just so you know that I'm not on there yet, but I will be soon.
Sure, I can walk you through the slides. So yeah,
right.
It's so impressive you're not trying to read PowerPoint slides while you're driving.
Well, it's a little easier than using the parking meters.
So the next, it's hard to fundraise if you're in the hospital. So the next is fundraising status. Do you want me to read the bullets off?
So I pretty much, go ahead and just, again, I'm trying to test my pitch.
Sounds like you're in a high wind right now, just so you know. It's a little hard to hear you.
I'm in a car. It's not me. Someone else muted.
It's me. It's me. It's my fault.
Okay. All right.
It's that Chicago wind. Okay, yeah, go ahead and read that. I'm just about to get on here.
Sure. It says we are making our rounds through the states and making progress fundraising.
Right.
Made physical visits to New Hampshire, California, and Arizona. So you don't want to walk through those?
Right. So there are multiple layers, as you know, to our fundraising strategy and trying to raise money to support everybody here. Oh, it's on my screen now. There, I'm on. And so, like Helen, for instance, went out to New Hampshire. I've been going to California and Arizona. We've got near-term plans scheduled to go into Atlanta, coming back to California, down to Miami, into Tampa, and we're trying to schedule everyone with the rest. I'm going to be on the road pretty much between now and the event anyway, just basically visiting places and helping raise money. So just know that if you don't have anything scheduled yet, you should be talking to Nick or Helen and making those arrangements. But hopefully, Helen, do you want to talk a little bit about your trip up to New Hampshire and as an example of what you did and how that worked?
Yeah, it was great. Can everybody hear me okay?
We hear you great.
Okay, so is Nicole on the call from Concord? Nicole, are you on?
We haven't heard her.
Okay. I'm distracted by a call that's coming in. I had a great time up there with Nicole. She and I visited some new funders, some existing funders, a funder that funds us in Connecticut that also has offices up there. He set up a follow-on meeting with her. We were over at the University of New Hampshire talking to their entrepreneurship people. We packed in, I don't know, probably 6 or 7 meetings over the course of 2 days. And so it was great because everybody that we met with there were so excited to hear about a nationals event for kids who have been doing this. The New Hampshire Young Inventors program has been around for a while, so they're hearing about some of them are hearing about it for the first time, others are hearing about the update to it. I think the result will be almost immediate in terms of the next 3 or 4 months and being able to raise funds to send the kids down to DC, as well as recruit more judges from each of these companies. We were over at GE, a manufacturing plant up there, and they were so excited to be able to spread the word about volunteer judges for the events up there, and generally to raise the profile of the program in New Hampshire. So for a brief 2-day stay there, we got a lot accomplished, and it was great to meet with all the people in the organization and be able to help her with planning for additional fundraising. So as far as, she can speak for herself as she comes on in terms of how much of a help we were, but I'm hoping that she was as pleased with it as I was.
Now, for the benefit of the other people here, why don't you walk through how that all came together, who set up the phone, who set up the meetings, and how that all worked, because that seemed to have worked pretty well, and it's a good model for other people to follow.
Okay, so we started off with reviewing the fundraising document that we've made available to all of our state affiliates in terms of just a lot of different ideas on how to prospect for companies and foundations in your state or in your region. Obviously, it's always best to have people who you already know and who are familiar with your organization to go back to them and let them know what you're doing. But then it's best to add in other people that they can help you with in terms of just basic prospecting skills and going out to the corporate community and the foundation community. There's available information on the net and from us in terms of mining and setting up prospect lists of additional companies. Then there's always, so then what we also did was set up some meetings with the University of New Hampshire, which Nicole was already familiar with. So being able to tap into that network of people, both at the School of Engineering as well as the business school, from existing contacts and having, and again, it's a good tactic to kind of walk in and recruit for judges, because people are always looking to see what kind of volunteer opportunities are out there, and then be able to talk to them about company giving that they might be able to provide too. The existing Fidelity has been a big supporter of theirs, so it was great to be able to just sort of tag team into talking with them. That was an existing corporation that has been giving to them, so that was an example of being able to leverage them up from their current giving to hopefully double or even more than that. What we were able to accomplish really was just kind of a pairing of the two of us. Nicole had developed a really nice PowerPoint presentation about the Young Inventors program, and I had brought up materials from our Connecticut program here to sort of show how the two programs had progressed over time, and then the opportunities that were there for DC. So number one, preparation in terms of giving yourself 2 or 3 weeks ahead of time to set up invitations to visit personally. Number two, really prospecting through your current givers, as well as setting up appointments with people that maybe have showed some interest in your organization, or in the top 40 givers in your state, which are listed. I'd be happy to send everybody their state URL, is looking to see who's giving. You know, as Willie Sutton says, I rob banks because that's where the money is. So we definitely want to go see people who have a giving record, corporations or foundations, or even community foundations that are interested in it. There's a big community foundation in New Hampshire, the New Hampshire Charitable Foundation, that has its hand in a lot of nonprofit work. We didn't get a chance to visit with them, but that would probably be on the next time up. So number one, give yourself enough advance time. Number two, do the prospecting and do the investigating of who's giving and who would potentially give to you, and setting up a pretty tight schedule. I think we were on the road from 8 o'clock in the morning till really 8 o'clock at night, meeting with people for 2 days and just maximizing the time of being there and being able to talk to new and existing prospects.
That's great, Helen. Thanks a lot. Bill, you want to go to the next page?
Sure.
Oh, invite me to your state.
Pardon?
Invite me to your state.
I think you should come to California right now. Did I mention it?
Shut up.
Helen's a mercenary.
Okay, so also I know Nick has been talking with a number of you guys and setting up one-on-one things, especially as we've been trying to roll out the IP law program, or not try, but actually am rolling out the IP law program. And I know he's been talking to Chicago and Maine, some other states. So that's been moving forward. Is Nick on the call? I don't think he is.
We haven't heard
Okay, I was going to have him give an update there, but we'll have to do it next time. Next slide.
Well, can I just comment on that? That the first day that we sent ours out through our law offices of Cantor Copeland, the very first day we got an IP attorney firm to say I do, to send one of our inventors. He happened to have people in his office that attends our event and judges. So again, I can't stress enough that link between expand your circle of judges, because they ultimately become your friends in many ways. And now we've probably got another, I don't know, anywhere from 2 to another 3 or 4 potential IP firms also that are looking at the proposal for it. So if there's anyone in your sphere that has come, visited your event, judged your event, shown any interest in your event, it's wonderful to be able to leverage those into their partners at their law firm in terms of putting this out to them.
Right. So so in Connecticut, we sent it out to about a dozen or so firms, and we're engaged with about 4 or 5 of them. Two signed up right away. And so we'll be following up with phone calls and hope to get as many of those as possible. If we did get 10 or 12 to do that, that would be enough to send the whole Connecticut contingent to D.C. with their chaperones. And so, I think Annalise, I think Nick has been working with you on the emails to go out in Chicago. Is that correct?
Yeah, yep, I'm working with him on some of that.
Annie, have you built that in a package form? So, maybe if, at least what I've seen so far, it's sponsor one, inventor, $2,500. But have you built it so there's a volume discount? In other words, if they want to sponsor 4 or 6 or whatever, that there's some efficiency?
So, it's a good idea. The feedback that we've gotten from people have been that, I don't know how I put this, Helen, you can help me keep me honest here, but we'd be lucky to get them to sponsor 1. So while it's probably, it'd be a great situation to have where someone pops up and says, I'll do 10. We did some market research and talked to some law firms that asked them, well, would you be likely to do this? Like, you've got 10 offices around the U.S. Would you do 1 per office? And like, nah, I would probably just do 1 for the whole company, So
Wow.
It came back that they're happy to take part. It's a great idea, but 1's enough, thank you. And so that's sort of what we sort of went the other way and sort of said this is a, trying to get everyone to send 1 kid and to be able to make it very much of a save the children type of thing. Here's a picture of your kid.
That makes sense.
So, if we find that someone says they want to do a bunch of them, I'm perfectly willing to cut a deal.
Got it.
The marketing budgets for law firms are generous when it's like an IT conference or an entrepreneurship conference in the state, or a Connecticut Technology Council innovation marketplace or something like that, where it's a direct effect for them in terms of getting their name out in front of people who are concerned about intellectual property. This, you got to really kind of push the altruism and philanthropy aspect with attorneys.
Got it.
Yeah, and I also evaluated with people with the whether there's a good avenue in the corporate attorneys, and most corporate attorneys that we talked to said they don't have any sort of budget for this, but they send it over to the community relations people. So we had early hopes that we might be able to do some with the corporate attorneys. That doesn't look like it's going to be a real possibility. So I think we're going to make a sweep through the IP law layer, and if we get 100 firms to sign up nationally for that, then we've paid for all the kids to go to D.C. So I think 50 firms is doable. 100 firms is a reach, but certainly it's not the only way we're raising money for kids to go to D.C. So we'll take the money we get from this and spread it wide and far, and raise money from some other ways too. So just to recap, if you've been sending us your pictures and your logo like we asked about, to create IP travel sponsorship presentations for you. Nick has been putting those together, and I know he's done some for several states. So if you don't have a presentation specific to your area put together yet, please contact us. But we're going to need your logo, high quality logo, and some and pictures of your kids if you have not already sent us pictures of your kids. Okay, Bill. Next.
Yep, you're on it.
So, other stuff is, from our perspective, we're continuing to raise national funds. I had a wonderful, wonderful meeting yesterday with a gentleman who's a billionaire, has 500 patents. He's really, really insanely into in invention education. He's actually sponsoring the San Antonio School District to build a curriculum and do professional development. And when he found out all the things that we were doing, he's sort of like, well, why am I doing this when you've already done it? And so we're having some great conversations about ways that hopefully we can work together. And he's got pretty deep pockets, and his friends all have pretty deep pockets. And as he says, he He chums around with the founders of Google all the time, and they said they'll give him whatever money he needs for whenever he wants to do this. So he's obviously my best friend these days, and I'm coming back out to meet with him in 2 weeks to talk about ways that we can work together. Interestingly, he's on the advisory board for Lemelson Foundation, which is, for those of you who know what that is, that's a really fortuitous link as well. So we've also been progressing lots of foundation-level relationships, whether it's Paul G. Allen with Lemelson. We've got a meeting coming up with Kaufman. So those are all really good. And we've got some new commitments that have come in since we've been finalizing. So I'm not going to, it's hard for us to say we're on track for anything, but we are raising more money and making this all happen. So next slide. So, you know, the one thing I'd leave with you on fundraising, and take any questions that you have, but, you know, there are two sides of the coin we've been seeing. There are those affiliates that have been really actively involved with us. They've been aggressively setting up meetings. They've been giving us their logos and their pictures. We've been able to send them back materials, put that together. It's been very cooperative, and we've made a lot of really good progress. And then there are other ones that sort of seem to be sitting back and waiting for us to deliver stuff to them, which we can't do without all the materials. So, you know, I'll let you guys self-select into what category you fall into, but we're trying to help, but we need your help to help. And so when Helen was just talking about New Hampshire, that worked because she went up there and she had 2 days solid of meetings that were set up. And so the local affiliate was able to use us for what we're really good at in terms of messaging and materials and vision and representing the national and support local. But that only worked because they were so engaged. Nicole was so engaged in making it happen. So help us help you is the sort of the plea there. Are there any questions about the fundraising stuff that I've been mentioning? Okay, Bill, then I guess you can go on to the next slide.
Sure. Event status.
Event status. Sonia, are you on?
I am. I just set it on mute so I wouldn't type in anybody.
Okay, well, you want to talk about all the great work that you've been working on and all the tireless and fearless through the snowstorms and cold weather and everything else going on in Connecticut?
Yes, it's been great. I had Friday and Monday off from work, so I worked on this stuff. I've been working with hotels that are within walking distance and looking for rates. I was able to secure hotels around in the surrounding area. The further out you go, the less expensive they are. But then when we look at trying to moving people back towards USP Town, it almost negates itself in being that far out for the better rate. So I've been renegotiating with some area hotels, and I'm hopeful that we'll get something at either the Westin or the Embassy, which are both within the walking distance. We'll have to split up between hotels, but I think that's okay because everybody will be within walking distance. I'm putting together an itinerary, and I worked on it some more today, and I want to run it by Danny before I send it out to the broad group. But right now, I have just in a broad scope check-in on the 19th with some sort of, I'm proposing an ice cream social from 7 to 9 o'clock where participants will come in, pick up their registration bags, their name badges, and get to know each other, kind of like a meet and greet, something informal because everybody will be staggering at different times and jet lagged or tired from riding in a bus 12 hours. And then the next day, be looking for folks to do breakfast on their own. A lot of the hotels, since we'll be dispersed, have breakfast, complimentary breakfast at the hotel. So it won't be like 300 kids descending on any one particular hotel at one time. Then I'm working with the Aerospace Museum at the mall to set up some tours. What I think we're going to end up doing is splitting into groups, so we won't overwhelm any particular area at any one time. So I have A group, B group, and C group running through at different times. So lunch will be staggered, the tours within the building will be staggered, and the IMAX theater would be staggered. So that day is looking to be not very costly at all in terms of lunch cost. The only option within that venue is McDonald's. So that's what we're having. And then
Wait, are you saying
what's
within
that?
the Air and Space Museum the only option?
Within the, well, the group option. right now is McDonald's. I have a call into her to see if there's something else we could do, but actually
What about
not too bad.
that massive what about the massive cafeteria there?
That's the option she gave me for a group this size. So that's why I'm trying to split it down a little bit more to do it.
Okay.
There's a massive
Well, that's
cafeteria in the other one, in the other museums have the bigger ones than the other museums. This one just has the McDonald's, but we can work at. That's one of the things I want to talk to you about. And right for dinner, what I'm proposing is we go back to the Westin. I have a temporary hold on a ballroom when their chef is trying to work out a nice dinner, a reasonably priced dinner for everybody, in which we could have a speaker come and present, or some networking games after, or where we have kids practice networking with each other and making fake business cards or something like that. We can work out something for that, but so that we're not just feeding them McDonald's and continental breakfast food all day. Then on the 21st, everybody walks over to the USPTO. We do our Invention convention, followed, and there I've arranged for a box lunch, and I'm going to have that available for pickup at staggering times as well, and media after, and then everybody gets back to their, either on their bus to travel home or heads off to the airport. And that's what I have so far.
Thanks for that. And I will point out that as you trashing McDonald's, I am parked in a McDonald's lot, but who's counting? Anyway, so I want to make sure that everybody understands that all that stuff that we talked about is all inclusive in the attendance fee that we
that's
are helping
$150, right?
Yeah, so you guys are not shelling out for all that food and the theater and all that other stuff. So from a logistics point of view, we're finalizing stuff now, which is about where we can finalize it, because you can't finalize it too soon and too late, and you have to get these guys competing against each other. So Sonia's doing a great job of just beating everybody up and getting the best price for us, but all the numbers seem to be coming in about where we expected, which is the best news because it's not screwing up the budget. So that's awesome. Is that the last question? I think that's all we had on events. Is there any questions on the event for Sonia? Sonia, did you have any questions for other people? Did you like?
No, I'm starting to touch base. I'm going to touch base with each individual state, because each individual state and affiliate is going to be kind of a little snowflakey, because they're going to have their different nuances to how they move their kids about. States are bigger. They're going to have either 1 or 2 meeting points. They're going to fly to 1 or 2 airports. So I'm working. I'm going to call each person just so I have a touch point, and they have a person they can contact to and go to, so we have established a relationship. So I have a list of 20 people that we'll be calling over the next couple of weeks to make that happen. I talked to Annalise today. Hi, Annalise. I talked to Tracy yesterday. Someone's coming up Thursday, and I was working with Nick, but I'll probably just keep plugging along on establishing those relationships. So if there's any questions or anything that comes up. One thing that did come up, though, in conversation is they want to know when is the deadline for registration. So we should establish a deadline for that. When is our absolute drop dead? In terms of knowing how many people they've signed up and to get their registration. And the other thing I'm working on now is a one-pager, a template that they can use and manipulate for their specific state, because everybody's going to have a different transportation way, but the general information about the goal of the, like the information about the event, how students were selected, the cost of the event, what's included, what's not included, and just general information that they'll be able to use prior to their event or at their event to inform, you've won your trip to Virginia. Here's the general information.
Right.
Sonia?
Yeah?
This is Susan. Hi. Do we know yet if there's a need for volunteer help for the finals?
Yes, there will always be. Yes. So if we have, my thought around that was to engage some of the chaperones during times when they're not otherwise chaperoning. Like during the event, the students will have a designated place they have to be at with. It'll be modeled pretty much after what we do here, so they'll have a place to go. So we'll have a couple of extra hands, but also this is a much smaller event than we're used to running
Right.
in terms of flow, and people will have been pre-registered and know where to go prior to getting there. So it won't be as a logistical, we'll definitely need volunteers, but not to the
Not to the extent we need them.
extent that we need them to fit, right.
Yeah, and I was just asking because we had a couple of offers, but I'm not sure that they could be chaperones. I'm assuming the chaperones need to be teachers?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
The couple, well, I've only spoken to two, but one is bringing teachers, another one is bringing herself.
Okay.
So, and some of them are bringing parents. So
Okay.
a chaperone has to be a responsible adult. And that's the other thing that's happening too, which is going to change for each different state or affiliate, is their ratio of chaperone to student. So apparently in Chicago it's 6-to-1, but in Tennessee it's 10-to-1. So, there'll be, that's why that's the other thing I'm trying to nail down, based on the number of students we expect them to come, how many adults should I plan on, or can I take a better guess at?
Understood. Okay.
Just so we have a sense of time, we have about 25 minutes left.
Okay, and the other thing I was just going to offer is I'm putting together a package of information that will go out to each state. So each affiliate or state will have a package of information that includes the itinerary, places to go, places in the area, maps, and just stuff that they'll have in general. So, contact information. What else is on my list here? Emergency information, and any general information they need for managing over the next 2 days.
Okay, that sounds great. Okay, next slide, Bill.
Sure. Okay. So more on the event. Is this redundant with what we just?
That's redundant. I guess it just added to expect an email in 2 weeks.
Okay.
Judging update. You're on, Bill.
Hey, there we go. All right. So thank you to the team who assembled to talk about criteria. So I'm just going to kind of overview what we talked about, what we came up with, and we'll socialize after the call, along with the recording of the call. We'll socialize all this information, and we really want your input. So I'll just do a review of it, and then, and again, there absolutely be an opportunity to give input. So what we started with was really to define the objectives of the Invention Convention from the participants' perspective, and we really try to get it fairly honed down. And as we went through this, we realized that some of it could be addressed by the criteria, and some of the objective from the participants' perspective could be addressed by other parts of the event. Not all of it needed to be addressed by the criteria themselves, but certainly you can read this at your leisure and give any comments. We're happy to adjust any of this, but this is what we aligned as we were talking about criteria. This is what we were aiming to align to, and that's sort of our true north. So then getting to the criteria themselves, and I apologize for going to small font, but I at least wanted to show you we have sort of four, what we felt are four general criteria that have sort of sub definitions to them. So process, solution, impact, and presentation, and then of course they're defined. But what we found as we were sort of talking about this is that it wasn't just important to have criteria, but it was really the both the context that would be informed by the objectives, but then also the judges' training, where we could orient them to the objectives, and then also share with them potential questions for the competitors. And this is a starter list of those questions, but we certainly would love more input on this, and certainly want to add to this list. But the goal would be that during the judges' orientation, we'd not only review the criteria, we'd review the context or the objectives of the event from the student point of view, so that the judges were aligned with that. and then also give them a list of questions that they could ask each competitor after they've made their presentation. But again, we'll share this after the call and very much invite your feedback. Our goal, I would suggest, probably, and Danny and I haven't talked about this, but we probably want your feedback within the next 2 weeks so we can get to a place where we call these done and you can have them for any preparation you need to do or to align your local criteria where you can through them as well. But any questions on these at all?
Hey, Bill, are there going to be any, have you figured out the individual versus team aspect of this yet? Is there going to be different set of criteria for teams, or will it be the same?
That's a good question. Certainly we'd love feedback on that. Our criteria team hasn't really addressed that issue, so certainly I can pose that as a question to the broad group when this goes out.
Also, Bill and Danny, I forgot to mention too that another thing that came up in conversation with the two people I spoke to so far is number of teams they can bring and how many per team.
Mm-hmm.
So in your judging criteria.
Sure, I don't know that the criteria.
Some of them have, yeah. So in selection criteria, in terms of who they select to bring, can they bring teams of 2 up to 5? You know, what is considered a team?
Sure. Danny, have you considered that?
Yes, dear.
do we have?
No, I think it's for the committee to decide and talk about. I mean, certainly, I think what we said for team composition was that since this is the first year and we haven't given any direction, that however the underlying regions define teams is the way we'll go with it. So I think it's anybody that's more than one is a team would be my gut. And also, I mean, from an allocations point of view, if someone sends 5 members, then it just takes up 5 slots. We're still going to stick with shooting for 300. So, but some states have 3-person teams, some have 2-person teams, some have 4. You know, so it's too late. It doesn't make sense for us to worry about that. So, so why don't we just, so anyway, we should bring that up in the next judging call, but I think the definition is going to be whatever the underlying affiliates define it as. So that'll be in some instances, you got a 5-person team competing against a 2-person team. That's just the way it's going to be for the first couple of years probably until we decide if it makes sense to give further direction to the affiliates as to what team composition should look like. We don't know enough about their curriculum and how they're approaching it and why they chose that yet, so we're just not likely to take a position.
And just as a reference, most competitions don't define, at least that I've seen, don't define team size or separate based on that. So cool. That's it, unless anyone has any other questions on the judging.
Sounds great, Bill. Thanks.
Cool. Interesting tidbits, Danny, to you.
Top 10 list. So we've met some really amazing people in the past month. One of them is the author of Kingonomics, which is applying the teachings of Martin Luther King to economics and business. He's also the diversity advisor to Mark Burnett Productions, which does, among other things, Shark Tank. And he's going to help us in Atlanta, Roxanne. Now you're going to ask me what his name is.
It's Rodney Simpson.
There you go. There you go. Do you know, Roxanne, do you know Rodney?
It's actually Sampson, S-A-M-P-S-O-N.
Rodney. Okay, well, in any case, he's very excited about what we're doing. He actually has a whole sort of religious network that he's interested in trying to deploy this across. And so it's a number of different ways that we're trying to team with national players that can push invention education across to other groups. I also met with one of the largest Silicon Valley women's leadership groups who's trying to promote girl leadership and anything that gets girls interested in having careers. and they want to talk about ways that we might be able to work together and possibly to promote girl inventors, either in our sphere of influence or nationally. So that was pretty cool. That's, again, part of our philosophy of just trying to meet with everybody possible and try to build bridges. Next slide, Bill.
Mm-hmm.
I mentioned that we met for the California team for the first time at Palo Alto, and it's very strong in invention education and fundraising. Also, before this, I was with Bill down in Santa Barbara, and we weren't just enjoying the really sunny, warm weather, but we were we were actually meeting with a bunch of people that are interested in growing ecosystems across the U.S. And for instance, Tracy, we met with a guy in Chattanooga who has an affiliate network of 65 cities across the U.S. that he's interested in seeing how we could deploy invention education. So he's interested in doing Invention Convention in Chattanooga, and he's also interested in exporting that to his other partner states and cities. So that's pretty cool. We also met people from Houston, Nebraska, Maine, Tampa, Santa Barbara, San Antonio, and other places that are all interested in engaging with us in some fashion and helping make this happen. A case in point I'll give about the Minnesota person, for instance. He said, look, if you come to Minnesota, I will have in the room the mayor, I'll have the leading superintendents, CEOs of all the major corporations, the STEM interests, and anybody else you think we need to have in the room in order to go ahead and figure out how we deploy this across Minnesota. So those are the types of people that Bill and I were hanging out with. They're all doers and really committed to making a change and making a difference in their community and making an impact. And so when someone says they're going to help out, they're going to help out. So that's really awesome. Bill, next slide. Oh, well, I sort of covered those two already.
All right. Go on to the next
slide. So just a reminder, on the last call, we had a call for people to ask us if they needed any help with website or logo work. We didn't get a lot of response to that, which surprised me because I thought a lot of people would say, oh, my God, we need a website. Just something to think about. The other thing is I think I showed you before a sample of the type of animation we were going to put on our website. This is an actual montage made up of actual pictures that we got from people across our network, and you can take a look at it. You'll notice that a lot of the pictures are not very high definition, and what we suppose is that people are taking pictures with high definition, but when they're storing them, they're shrinking them down and making them not high definition. And so when you go to try to use them for purposes like this, they look a little fuzzy. So I would encourage people, when you get your pictures and you take pictures, have two repositories, one of the native size, okay, and you may want to keep that offline because it's just going to take up a lot of space, and one that's maybe a more working online one that you use for PowerPoints and stuff like that where you don't need high definition. But by all means, don't go and convert your high definition pictures to low definition and make that your main repository, because then that means that when you go to try to use them in very high quality situations, you don't have access to those pictures. And we're running into that problem now. And so just something to point out about. Susan, you and I need to have a conversation about that relative to the Connecticut pictures.
Right, the one thing that I did on time.
Sorry.
The one thing I did.
So in any case, you might click on this link or type it in. It looks pretty cool, I think. We intend to make 5 of these with 5 different source images. The source image that we're using there is not a high definition source. I'm not really remembering where it came from. It might have been either South Carolina or Atlanta or Ohio or Chicago. But in any event, that'll give you an idea where we're going. So if you do have pictures, we are still looking for pictures. We'll put them to use here, and so you can show off your kids. Next, Bill.
Open topics.
Ooh, this is where you get to stump the team.
What didn't we talk about that anyone would like to talk about?
So I have a quick question. This is Connecticut. We haven't really done any kind of announcement to our our schools that this is coming up as a national invention convention. How are other states handling this, since it's a new thing, especially if there are so many unknowns yet? And when should we, or when would you like to see us start announcing this to our schools so we can put at least some messaging together?
So I had a meeting just now, and I'm following up on it tonight, about trying to put a timetable to doing a press announcement at the national level about the event. And so it probably makes sense to do that around that. We're actually working with some resources within our sponsors to help us with the PR. And we're just lining up their PR resources. So we hope to, within a couple of weeks, make that announcement. And so we will create dummy press announcements that each state can use and issue on its own as well. And what I would suggest you do right now is, if you don't have a plan for how you issue a press release, typically the best way to do that is work with one of your sponsors to issue the release on your behalf and be able to list them as one of the sponsors that's helping the kids get to the national event. That's a win-win for both parties, but they pick up the cost of issuing a press release, which can sometimes be pricey, $500-600 to do. And certainly what they usually do is they usually buy press release distribution in bulk. So they've essentially got unlimited. So for them to issue another press release is usually not that much cost. If they have an incremental cost, maybe $150 versus you doing retail at $600. So I would suggest that you start thinking about how you issue press releases if you don't have that figured out now. If you need any help on that, give me a call. Got a lot of experience in that space. So that when 2 weeks comes around, you have a mechanism for how to quickly turn that around and actually put it on the wires.
Cool. Did that answer your question, Susan?
Kind of, sort of. So I can issue the press release, and I can probably guarantee that most teachers are not going to be reading press releases. I guess you kind of answered the one way to do it. The when is, I think you said in a couple weeks that'll be ready to go.
Yep, and I would suggest, instead of talking to teachers, the CIC has a newsletter distribution that usually goes out to the teachers. That would be a great place to announce it.
Exactly. That's going to be one method where I'm going to use to do that with, and then I can almost guarantee, because it's so new, it's going to start a flurry of calls. So I just want to make sure that the answers that we're giving are as truthful as we can be at the time, knowing that there are still some unknowns. And I guess I just am looking for the consistent messaging, that we're saying the same thing to everyone, so that we can give them as much information as possible that's actually true, knowing that, again, this is, it's kind of an experiment this year.
Well, thanks for recognizing that, right? I mean, we don't have all the answers, and some of our answers aren't going to be figured out until after the event. We go, oh, that's what we should have done.
Right.
But, one thing is certainly true, though, is that one of the reasons that we've been waiting is for Sonia to get all her work done, so we can get more definitive,
that makes sense.
Statements. So when a teacher says, well, how's this going to work? We can say, well, here's the agenda, here's the way it's going to work. What we won't be able to answer for them is how each of you affiliates decide who's going to go, right? I don't know that anybody's, some people have already figured that out because they've already picked the kids, because they've already gone through their whole cycle, and they know exactly who's going to go. And how they got to that, I don't really know. But it's not something that we're going to mandate, so each of you sort of needs to go through a decision-making process of how to determine. We've given you a good idea of how many seats you have. So the question then becomes, well, how are you going to figure out how to fill those seats? Cool. If you have any questions on that, feel free to call Susan. She'll answer it all for you.
Susan is
so we have snow
in Danny's office.
We have about 7 minutes left. Other topics anyone want to get into?
One thing I might add, Bill, I've had a number of people come to me and say that this time no longer works for them because of changing schedules and stuff. Do you think we need to, every 6 months or so, just recheck the group to make sure the time and place? Well, the place always going to make sense, but the time makes sense. Since you're running this, I'll let you go ahead and consider that. I don't know if you've gotten any communications down those lines.
Yeah, I'm happy to send out a survey to find the best time for us to, or to recheck our meeting time to see if this or another time would be best.
Right. Well, it sounds like that's all that everybody has for today, so we'll go ahead and wrap here. And I won't say we'll just freeze it here. And I wish you guys a good month, and we'll be back to you in a couple weeks with the firmed up agenda and information for the press launch. And if you guys, as usual, have any questions, feel free to reach out to us. And Bill, thanks a lot for running a great meeting, and thanks for all the good questions. And if anybody wants to follow up, you know our numbers and email addresses.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you for all your hard work.
Thanks,
Thank
everyone.
you.